Aloha, welcome to Koa Studio. So in this video, I'm going to be repairing these three pieces that I used for testing some time ago. Now, two of them I used on this ballistics gel. If you want to see that video on that, I'll have the link up here at the top. The other piece I damaged testing at some other time, I can't remember when, but they've been damaged for a long time. I've needed to fix them, so I finally decided to take some time, get them fixed, and then I'm also going to be posting them on my website. So I recently updated my website, so if anyone is interested in purchasing a piece, I will be posting anything that's available for sale over there. It's at koastudio.net, and that link will be posted in my description as well. So the first one that I'm going to be fixing is going to be this ball club. It's a Native American ball-headed club, or at least it's inspired by that. It has a lot of Hawaiian influence designs in there as well as some of my own design patterns. Originally, it had a marlin bill as the spike that broke off when I was testing. I decided I was going to put a marlin bill in it again. But one thing I kind of learned with this first piece that became true with all of them is I was originally just going to do a simple repair, get it back up and going, but I ended up doing a lot more for most of these pieces. So for this piece, the first step is just going to be fitting the marlin bill into the club, and then I'll be able to glue it into place. I'll use epoxy, and once it's epoxied into place, I can sand down the rest of the piece. I do have to sand it down to remove any of the original finish, and then I can refinish it. Now this was a fairly solid piece of marlin bill, but I had some core in it that I wanted to fill, so I just used some CA glue to fill that up. That should help it so that it doesn't crack when I go to put it into place, but other than that, it's a pretty dried out piece, and so just basic finishing on it will be more than enough. So the rest of this will be just finishing up this piece, gluing it into place, and then sanding down the handle and the striking head and getting it refinished. Now, this was one of my favorite pieces to oil up when I first made it, just because it has so many different layers of koa. So the ball-headed club is made up of 3 different pieces of koa laminated together, and then they're jointed together to the handle. So the handle is a different piece of koa. The handle was a beautiful light curly koa, so it's just absolutely gorgeous piece. So I loved oiling up this piece. Now I'm actually not going to show you the finished piece yet. That'll be at the end. And so this next piece here is going to be this longer style leomano. It's like a slashing style, almost like a Hawaiian style axe. The first step is going to be removing the teeth. I need to pull out the lashing. It's easier just to cut it free, and then I can pull it all the way out. Originally, same with the other piece, I was just going to replace the existing or the damaged pieces of shark teeth, and these are bull shark teeth that are in this one. But as I was beginning to work on it, I noticed that there were some spots on it that I didn't like. I didn't quite like how I did the sanding job, where you see that contour of the edge that goes to the side. So there's a lot of little things that I wasn't very happy with. And I had made this piece years ago, so it's a few years old now. And so I'm going to go ahead and refinish it completely. Not just recoat it once I've sanded it down, but I'm going to be adding a few more character designs to the handle to break up some of those elongated lines. And then I went ahead and cleaned up the edge work from the side down to the blade. That way the whole thing just has a lot cleaner finished look and matches more of my current design styles and practices. There's a ton of sanding on this piece just because it's such a large piece. But man, the koa wood is absolutely gorgeous. So I was super excited to get this one sanded down and refinished. So it was about this point in time, as I was working on it, that I was debating about how I wanted to refinish it. So the original lash that I did on this piece was a fairly basic lash, although you can see I've got 2 holes in each of the bull shark teeth, and then 1 hole spacing in between each of those bull shark. And the original lash did kind of like a triangle pattern on the bottom side, but then would cross over on one side but not on the other. And I didn't really like that when I originally made the piece. It looked okay. I didn't like that one side had the crossover and the other side didn't. And so as I was working on it, the entire time I was thinking about it. I went ahead and glued in those extra teeth, you can't see that. But I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do. So the entire time I was thinking about it, and I was thinking what type of modification I can do to maybe improve the way that looked. Obviously, as of this point in time, I already have it oiled, but the lashing is that last piece that I need to do on it. Now, it is a gorgeous piece, and so oiling it was a ton of fun. So I went ahead and refinished the holes, and what I decided to do is I'm actually doing a new lash pattern. Now, unfortunately, because I'm an idiot, I picked a horrible angle to record from. So unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see me do the lashing for the most part. But at this point right here, I'd gotten about 25% done, which was hours. I was hours into it. And there was a sharp edge on the inside of one of the holes. And I just pulled tightly against it. And the shark tooth just cut right into the lashing and snapped it. So at that moment, I thought, well, I can either try and fix it, or I have to just redo the whole thing. And I've lost about 2.5 hours. So it took me total maybe 6 hours to lash this entire piece. It took an entire day. It was insane. So what I decided to do is I decided to try and fix it. So I'm just going to put a small connection knot, and then the knot will be right over top of one of the holes. That way I can try to mask the knot or hide it. And if that looked okay, then I would proceed. Otherwise, I'd have to pull it out and start relashing. I really didn't want to do that. When I cut that, man, it was just heartbreaking. But luckily, I didn't do it again, and the knot ended up looking kind of nice. It actually worked out really well. And so I went ahead and finished lashing the rest of the piece, and you'll get to see that right here. So it has a very unique pattern. So this is a first-time pattern for me. I pretty much just kind of invented it as I was going. It was really challenging to get a repeating pattern that had the same look on both sides. On the very end here, though, I thought about doing a pattern that would go backwards and do a crossover. But after talking to my wife, she said it was too busy. She didn't really like it. It did kind of look a little bit too busy to me as well. It lost some of the patternation that made the first run-up look really nice. So I went ahead, and after looking at it and discussing it, I decided to pull it out. She said it looked kind of ugly. And I agreed, just looking at it for a little bit. So I went ahead and pulled that out and finished up lashing this piece and then lashing in the handle. Now I was exhausted at this point in time, and as I was lashing in the wrist strap, I went to cut off just that little excess piece there, the tiny little piece sticking out, and I cut the entire thing. I just wasn't thinking at all. Oh man, I was so tired. But that's what you get for trying to go too fast, I guess. I should have just slowed down, paid attention. So I just took off that initial wrap, went ahead and rewrapped it, and I was able to finish that piece up. Again, you're not going to see the finished piece until the end. And so the next piece is going to be this one. Now, this piece here, I was just going to pull out the broken teeth and regroove it and put in the new ones, because I kind of like the style of this. There was a couple things though that I didn't like about this piece. I didn't like the lash that I did on the handle. It had some loose ends. It just wasn't done very well. The overall piece itself was really heavy, the club, and so the neva, this club, it was really heavy. I didn't like how top heavy it was. I mean, it was good for a club, but at the same time, it'd be nice if it was a little lighter. And having the shark teeth on all 4 corners kind of made it difficult to cut with, which is really what the shark teeth are for, especially the tiger shark teeth. You want to cut with them. And so as I was doing all of this work to put it back together the same way, I ended up deciding to go a completely different direction with this piece, and I changed its look entirely. So let me know in the comments below as this progresses what you think, if you think I should have kept it the way it was, if you like the new direction I took it. I'd be very interested to see what you think of it. I really like the way it turned out. I think it turned out better, but that's just me. Now, one thing that I do that I think is quite a bit different than what maybe a lot of other makers or designers do is I generally only plan out the initial shape of what I'm about to make, and then I kind of just like to build as I go along. So as I'm working on the piece, I might see a different contour, or the grain will look a certain way. It'll have a nice curl to it, or something will catch my eye, and so I'll continually change my direction as I'm moving. And so I've been asked before, what are my creative processes? I don't really have a clean creative process. I kind of just take what I'm working on and let that inspire me as I move forward. Occasionally I do plan out a little bit more meticulously if I have more of a starting image in my mind. But other than that, I don't really take out a whole bunch of measurements and craft the entire thing on paper first, which is a good way of doing it. There's a lot of artists that I follow that same pattern, that they plan out everything ahead of time and then they execute it beautifully. And so that is definitely an excellent way of building and creating. But for me, I just have always done it this way, where I kind of have a general design to start with, and then I kind of just let go with the flow and let it take me there. Well, here are the final pieces. This is the Neva, or War Club. Now this one was the square looking club, had the shark teeth on 4 angles. Now it just has the shark teeth on 2 different sides. A beautiful piece. I love the way it turned out. I think it works a lot more as both a club and a cutter. It also feels a lot better in the hand. The balance is a lot more towards the wrist, and so it's easier to maneuver. I love how this one turned out, but let me know in the comments below if you liked it better before, if you like it better now. Here is the finished larger style slashing nail mano, almost like a large pahoa or dagger, but like a sword style. Pretty awesome piece. I love the lashing on this. It's a very complex lash, and I think it contours beautifully with that heavy curl on the handle as well as on the blade. Just an absolutely gorgeous piece. One of my favorite pieces ever. Definitely won't be testing with this piece again just because I don't want to have to relash it. That would be horrible. And then the final piece here is the Native American gunstock, or not gunstock, but ball-headed war club style piece. Beautiful piece. I love all the different lines and characters that I gave it originally, and then it cleaned up just absolutely gorgeous. Well, let me know in the comments below what you think, which pieces were your favorite, if there's any you didn't like or think I screwed up. Mahalo Nui for everyone that watches, and I will see you on the next time. Aloha.